Hey everybody, it's Boom Goes the Dynamite with our very special year-end show, the second annual AEW Hook Awards, celebrating the best of the year in All Elite Wrestling for 2022. Joining me is my regular co-host on the Dynamite Show, Jeff Hawkins, on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Above him, with our little Brady Bunch setup, is Kevin Ely. And the esteemed host of the Boom, Kevin is his co-host, obviously, and James McDaniel, Peppermint Fatty, the world famous, on loan from On Patrol Live, joining us here for Boom Goes the Dynamite. James, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Paul. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I'm really excited to celebrate all the things that are great in pro wrestling, and all those things are Hook. And we're going to talk about how everyone else has tried to live up to his greatness here tonight.
I don't know if Hook's going to win any of these awards, to be honest with you, but we'll find out. I was trying to find a place for him, but the awards are named after him. We should find some way to work him in. Right?
We had discussed renaming him this year to the Action Andretti's, but we didn't know if that would fly.
We could call them the Action Awards. That would be
Is Kevin Ely not a Steam? Do we not get to say hello
no,
to him? Because,
no, and neither am I. I'm not even close to a Steam. But James is internet famous. So yeah, there you go. I was internet famous for a couple of weeks here,
but you're internet famous because you have bad opinions and stuff.
No. I don't have bad opinions.
The man asked some legitimate questions. CM Punk was out of muffins. All hell broke loose. That's just the way it goes.
That's the way it goes.
I'd like to think that I was the first one to bring out the true salty side of Phil Brooks, and then later on in the year it caught on. So
this is your fault.
Yeah,
your fault.
The world discovered it with you, and then we all learned the truth. Like
yeah.
The whole rest of the year was kind of bore out what we saw that night. By the way, Brad Reeder, thanks for tuning in tonight. Glad to have you in the comments. Same with you, Larry Sternshine.
Yeah,
hope I got everybody's names right.
Larry made it fresh off attending AEW Dynamite last night in Broomfield.
That was a good one to be at too.
So I'm glad he's here tonight, and he said he's here to troll me for all my bad picks, and I. So he knows ahead of time that I'm gonna screw this up. But if you joined us last year or if you didn't, we have several awards. We had Newcomer of the Year, Breakout Star of the Year, the Matt Hardy Memorial, even though he's still with us. Although I wish he wasn't. Elite Delete Award.
I wish he wasn't.
Oh my God!
With you?
Hey, I might have given away a pick there.
I wish he had died.
No.
Exactly.
I just mean not in AEW. That's all. No. I don't wish. He's a father of 4.
I like what you're saying there, Kevin, and that we're starting this out with the airing of grievances.
Yes.
And then we can go from there.
This is the last time to get everything off our chest for the rest of the year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We got the Moment of the Year, Storyline of the Year, the Name Your Own Award, the MFP, My Favorite Performer, and the Match of the Year. So we don't have, and then the one thing you'd make Tony Khan do in 2023, we don't have, your standard, Superstar of the Year or Wrestler of the Year or, like things like that. We have our own awards because it's Hook, and Hook does his own thing. So
right.
That's exactly right.
Also, and I up on the fly, which a lot of us are going to be doing too. So that'd be fun.
Yeah.
If anybody in the comments would like to do their own their own category or suggest a future category, please let us know. This would be really fun to grow over the years.
Absolutely. And I did ask for some picks on Twitter, and I got some feedback. So we'll share some of those, and we'll also share, what comes through in the chat. And so without further ado, let's get to the first Hook Award of the evening. And this would be the one that I believe Hook won last year. And it is the Newcomer of the Year, the AEW Newcomer of the Year. So I actually saw a tweet not that long ago where somebody was asking this very question. Who was AEW's best signee of the year? And I think the 4 choices they gave were Keith Lee, Swerve Strickland, Saraya, and Tony Storm. I think were the 4. And those aren't bad picks. Not my pick.
Not the correct picks.
But James, since you piped up there, what's your first pick?
Okay.
What's your pick for this?
I'll give you my final 5.
Okay.
And they were Danhausen, Keith Lee, Swerve, Claudio Castagnoli, and Takeshita. And it really came down to Claudio or Takeshita. And I had to go with Takeshita since he has made a huge impact, and he's not a talent who's proven himself in other federations here in America. It feels like a new guy. And so that's my pick, Takeshita.
That's a really good pick. And when I was making my notes, I actually said, I didn't tell anybody, but I thought that Takeshita, I wasn't sure he was going to win, but I felt that if we look back in 3 years, we would be saying, why didn't we pick Takeshita? Because that was a no-brainer. And you think he started in I think it was March or April, and he had some killer matches with John Moxley, Hangman Page, I think Jay Lethal, on a Battle of the Belts. And great pick, James. This Twitter, all the feedback, every single pick I got on Twitter was Swerve Strickland. So, whatever you want to say to that. And somebody said that if anybody votes for Saraya, they should be forced to watch the Page Here promo on loop. So, Jeff, you got a pick for newcomer of the year?
It's weird because I was going to have to cash in another category, but I think it has to be him.
Okay.
But boy, do I feel like going off the board right now just to start things up a little bit and saying Jeff Jarrett might be.
Ooh.
When we look back on things, just the fact that he's been in look, is he going to be the top guy? No, of course not. But he's a guy who's on the top of the mid card who's helping a lot of people.
He really is.
Get over. And I could make that case. I think Takeshita is the obvious choice here for more than one reason. But boy, is Jeff Jarrett. It's tempting, but he hasn't been in there long enough either. And that's the thing that Takeshita has right now is he was in there for more of the year than Jeff Jarrett was for me.
That's fair.
My pick is going to be somebody on this, I think, for some of the similar reasons that you're picking Jeff Jarrett. But I will ask Kevin for his pick first, and I'll save mine for last for this one.
I'm going to pick a with my heart and not my head, and I'm going to say Willow Nightingale.
Ooh,
that's great.
Yeah.
Now, she's not as important as Claudio or Swerve or even Takeshita in terms of the future of the company. But I think in her own way, she has the potential to be kind of an underground, homegrown, grassroots star in the company. She's really catching on. And if they handle her right and give her a chance to have a storyline that actually leads to something, I think she could. I think she could be important. I think she could be a big star for them.
The women's division is really coming together, and I feel like she's going to be a big part of it. Her popularity is completely natural. I don't think they were putting anything behind her, and people just look. Everyone loves Willow Nightingale.
Salty Scott Young said he loved that pick. Steve Geimer said Willow makes him feel special, and Larry confirming that she was really, really over last night, which we could hear. Yeah.
Brings
and Brad,
is a great way to put it.
Brad Ryder, brings a happy. Kind of like I think she may be filling the role that was originally intended for Kylie Ray. That baby face is impossible to dislike. Somebody here, Preet agrees with James. The innocent Twitter game. I mean, that's awesome. The interaction he had with Mel Gray and Carl Fredericks was priceless. So I'm going a little off the book as well, but awesome. I like my pick, and I will stand by it. And my pick is Renee Paquette.
Okay. That's pretty good.
I think that she is serving a role. I think all these people that we mentioned were great additions to AEW, and good free agent pickups, and they're solid additions to the roster. No problem with any of them. Some more than others, but I think Renee Paquette filled a need that this company had, and I don't think that any of the other people, with the possible exception of Willow, was filling a role that wasn't already filled. And I do think she's important to the future of the company. and I really, really like the fact that she's on there. Some weeks, like last night wasn't her best night. Jeff and I talked about that a little bit on our show. Maybe it was off air, but
it was. So don't bring it up. Yeah.
No. But I'm just saying, like, there's sometimes she's great, sometimes whatever. But even when she's having an off night, she's still better than anybody else they have for that role.
I have a question. Was Samoa Joe eligible for this? Was he this year or was he last year?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe is a solid choice too. Because he provides a role that they don't have the quote unquote monster tough guy who can really talk. True, and that is something that he is bringing to this role. And
he sure is.
Look, he's always a pleasure on promos.
Also bringing a pipe.
Yeah, we could have gone with Keith Lee. We could have gone with the Briscoes.
Could we?
Yeah.
Wait, we're counting the. Hold on here.
ROH is eligible
because I'd give the Briscoes everything if I could, to be honest.
Saraya, somebody could have gone with. I would have probably kicked him off, but
Paul, I think your pick may look better and better as we start off the new year with a new look AEW, because she's already brought a new level of professionalism to the broadcast. And when we get what I'm sure are new camera angles, new setups, and all that, most likely at this LA show coming up, I think it could push her even higher.
I think our friend Preet might see some of this stuff next week when he's at the show in Seattle.
And I think on that pick as well, I think there's a real problem with the broadcasting team, especially the backstage people, with the exception of Tony and her. Because the rest are just kind of, okay, I'm going to say my line and throw it to whatever's going on. Whereas these two actually have personality and have actual human interactions with the talent. And that helps heels get over when they get abused, and they help baby faces get over because they're obviously biased towards them. So, I think, as opposed to, no offense, I like Alex Marvez, but Alex Marvez tries really hard. But that kind of thing.
But almost as hard as Alex Abrahantes.
I just had to share this one. All
right,
so it also makes Steve feel special. Unfortunately, Preet's not on the show. I thought he got tickets, but I'm trying to get him to come to Winnipeg on March 14th, and I promised him a room at Casa de Fontaine if he shows up.
That's fantastic. Yeah, look, I've got something later in the show for all you thirsty dudes out there.
Okay.
So just hold your horses on all that.
All right. So nobody picked Swerve, which again was the consensus pick on my Twitter timeline. I think Swerve is. I know why people picked him. Swerve's great. He's felt like a star the second he walked in, but to me, it doesn't feel like he's accomplished that much. Even though he was the world champion, it still feels like we haven't gotten that Swerve that we hope for, that we've been promised as a single star. And I really hope we get him in 2023 and we don't simply see him feuding with Keith Lee until 2024, which is highly possible. Totally agree. I think it feels like a little bit almost like a missed opportunity.
Yeah, same with Keith.
So far, but I mean, we're 6 months into a 5-year contract. So
yeah, exactly.
I gotta give. I don't want to let that Jeff Jarrett pick go by. Actually,
okay,
because that's as I'm thinking about it more, that's a really great. When you talk about bringing in a veteran to put people over, and I have no idea how much, shall we say, cooperation that Jeff Jarrett had in that rap video the other night, or if that was all a shock to him. But you talk about letting someone get over on you, whether he allowed that or not, that did a long way in helping the Acclaimed feel like a cool act.
Showing ass is what the kids used to call it.
From my understanding, Jeff Jarrett's one of those guys who anything on camera goes.
Okay.
Yeah. You can say anything about me you want, and it's not going to affect me because you're not really talking about me per se.
You're a carny who steals money like it's Kurt Angle's wife.
Yeah, and she had something to say about that too. So I hope she feels the same way. Yeah. She posted on Twitter about it.
All right, so our next award. So we got I think Takeshita would maybe be the one that if we had to pick one, we'd give it to. But there's a lot of good picks there. Breakout Star of the Year. Now I put on my Twitter that I thought that the Acclaimed and Ricky Starks are like the two runaway leaders in this category. I'm curious if there's any other names that are going to come out, and I'll just say for me, because Ricky Starks has only really been the last couple months, I would have to go with the Acclaimed as the breakout stars of the year or star of the year. I was like, I don't want to separate them because they're both great and they both add to the act, and the act wouldn't be the same without them.
And they're one act.
Exactly. Jeff, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think the Acclaimed are a fairly obvious pick. And they're going to be the new age outlaws of AEW for a long, long time. They're going to be over because of their entrance and everything like that. I think Takeshita would be good here. I might be overthinking this a bit because I also like to give credit to people who have gone from kind of the morass or the pack to being bankable stars in AEW because it's been such a problem for them.
I think I know where you're going here.
I think there's a case to be made for FTR here.
Oh,
I do. And hear me out because yes, they were tag team champions, but but they were heels, but they were never this over.
Yeah.
Than they were this year in AEW. They were never getting these huge. I mean, they get standing ovations now when the music comes on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ever since the babyface turn and breaking off of the Pinnacle and away from Tully, they are now top tier. You could have them headline a pay-per-view if you wanted them to. I think, in my opinion, and while I have some disagreements with how they've been treated in terms of the AEW Tag Team Championships. Yeah. 3 other companies gave them their tag team titles to defend, and they've gone all over the world to do it. And that's only been a positive boon for AEW and its reputation as well. Mm-hmm. So I think there's something to be said for going from good to great, not only just obscure to very good. And I would make that case here, but I would also say Takeshita would probably be a more safe pick here, but I wanted to make that case as well.
For all the criticism. Go ahead, Kevin.
On television, they were presented as the best tag team in the world on AEW. Even though they weren't the champions, they were always
FTR. You
referred to as the best. Yeah, FTR. Sorry.
Yeah.
And they're essentially. I don't know if Tony Khan considers them this, but I consider this some signature stars. They're if you're talking about the brand of AEW, they're very much that this is where you come to get, maybe not all the time, but at least some of the time you're going to get some of that old school wrestling.
I think you could make a case that FTR was I don't know how I want to word this, but I think they made the most business difference on a percentage basis, if you want to go with that, not pure dollars, because that's always going to be WWE. And, but in terms of like bringing Ring of Honor from something that might've done $5,000, 5,000 pay-per-view buys to like 25, 30,000 on a regular basis. And that's all FTR and the Briscoes, and mostly FTR because they were doing the heavy lifting. So, I like the way Matthew Burrell put it here. FTR went from like 65% to 85, and the Acclaimed went from like 10 to 75. So he would go with the Acclaimed, but he's also recognizing the point that Jeff made.
I mean, the Acclaimed over-delivered. There's no doubt about that. That match against Swerve and Lee was just absolutely fantastic, and you didn't think they could do that sort of thing.
No.
Nobody ever thought that the Acclaimed could carry the tag belts for AEW. I don't think
nobody thought they had a chance in hell of winning. And by the end of the match, everyone was asking, why didn't they win?
Right.
Like that's, I mean, that says it right there. They're my pick. I think I might've already said that. Kevin, who do you got?
I kind of the same here. I felt like Acclaimed and Ricky Starks were the top 2. So, for my pick, I decided to go with Daniel Garcia. Because a year ago at this time, he was the number 3 guy in a lower mid-card kind of punk act, just putting over Darby and Sting. And everybody had him tagged as, he's a really good wrestler and someday he'll be a star. And then they had that show in Buffalo where he won, I think that was when he won the Pure title.
Yes.
In his hometown and the main event of Dynamite, and you got to see, oh, this is a guy who 5 years from now will be headliner, or very well could be headliner. He developed his personality into a unique personality. He's had really good matches. You can tell the top guys like working with him. And I think they kind of should have gone ahead and pulled the trigger on what they're probably going to pull the trigger on him next year. But to me, he was one of a little bit like the Acclaimed, even though he didn't get the slot they did. Went from being a true homegrown act. And I know, like, you know, PWG had something to do with that, but you know, he's a guy now. And,
well, I mean, and
I hope he
you know,
doesn't
you're
sort of
not
fall back into the background.
I mean, whatever name he has in North America is because of AEW. Like, I mean, PWG made him a wrestler, but AEW made him a star, you know, or whatever level of stardom he has. I'll sneak peek or peek is the right word, at my Wrestling Observer ballot for Wrestler of the Year. At this point for me, not Wrestler of the Year, but Bryan Danielson Technical Award. I'm going with Daniel Garcia, number one. So there's a pick that is very popular in the chat right now, and I'll get to it, but I want to get James's pick first and see if he picks the pick that is very popular in the chat. And if he doesn't, we'll talk about it either way. But James, who do you have?
First of all, I just want to mention real quick on the FTR thing, as as much shit as I have talked about Tony Khan, I wonder if FTR could have had the year they had in AAA, in ROH, and all these other organizations, if Tony had let them wrestle more than twice this year. So I think that's something to consider.
Yeah.
So also, for such a negative year, seemingly, for AEW, with the Cody stuff, the Punk stuff, I'm impressed with how many really good possibilities we had in this category. We have, of course, the Acclaimed, Daniel Garcia, Wheeler Yuta, Ricky Starks, FTR, Takeshita, all these people. Jade Cargill.
Jamie Hayter.
Yeah.
Jamie Hayter.
And
well,
and
that's
so it came down to the Acclaimed. It came down to the Acclaimed or Jamie Hayter for me. Also, of course, I think an outside pick would be Daddy Ass himself.
Interesting.
20 minutes ago, I went with the Acclaimed. Yeah, I went with the Acclaimed, but I've now officially changed it to Jamie Hayter because she deserves to be mentioned here. And I really like what somebody said in the chat, which is her division needed it more than the AEW tag team division. The Acclaimed have been fantastic. They've been, again, everybody loves the Acclaimed. I've been watching since day one, and I didn't think they were going to be that good. I didn't like them at first. And they've come so far. They're one of my favorite parts of the show. But Jamie Hayter's been a revelation. As soon as she won that title, they changed her look. When you're hearing her talk, she feels like a superstar. And she made that transition so quickly, it's ridiculous. And so, yeah, I literally switched my vote from the Acclaimed to Jamie Hayter. They were my top two all along, though.
All my Twitter people went with the Acclaimed, but I think we got to give this to Jamie, based on the chat, based on the case that you just made, and and honestly, like, from where she was a year ago to where she is now, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that. I mean, the Acclaimed is close, but she just had the best women's match in North American wrestling in 2022.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Acclaimed had one of the best tag team matches, with Lee and Strickland at All Out. But, I mean, FTR's had, a half dozen matches at that level or better. So, So I like Jamie Hayter, but, the Acclaimed upset win, I would say here, because if we'd done this 2 weeks ago, I don't know if Jamie Hayter would have won.
I don't think she would have. Think she would have. That match made a lot of difference, and seeing her post-title win interviews have made a lot of difference.
The only thing keeping me from that is we haven't seen how they're following up on it just yet.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, next week she's probably going to be facing QT Marshall. That's how they've been going for a while with things like this. They might give her the Wardlow treatment. James
put it on one show when he was talking about Action Andretti, and he said, well, they'll probably fuck it up, but we'll enjoy it for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is from like a big AEW fan. All right. Our next award is a fun one. It's the Matt Hardy Memorial Elite Delete Award, which is a match, a moment, or a person that you would like to delete from the year. I almost feel like we should have done the caveat of saying that wasn't CM Punk.
How dare you?
But I think there's a lot of good picks here. And honestly, for me, I wouldn't delete CM Punk because that first 8 months of the year was first 6 months anyways, was pretty good television and pretty good in the ring wrestling and all that. And if we delete him, then we don't get that. So, and then, who knows, like there was some backstage stuff. It wasn't all his fault. It was mostly his fault. But I'll go with Kevin here first. Kevin, who do you got for this award?
Well, it's CM Punk.
Okay, fair enough.
Here's a specific thing, and we kind of talked about.
Well, it could be a moment
earlier.
So I mean, you could.
Yeah,
it
was a moment. It was a specific moment.
Yeah,
and it's not the one that's the most obvious one, but on our regular show this week, I talked about it a little bit, and James talked me out of it, but I'm kind of back on it. I'm just gonna do whatever I can to delete the moment where CM Punk did a stage dive with the world title off into the fans, his first show after winning it. I think that was at the LA Forum, because that's when he cracked his foot.
Mm-hmm.
And we were all set for a CM Punk FTR trio that was going to do God knows what all summer.
Something great.
Have Tanahashi and CM Punk at Forbidden Door, probably still getting to MJF in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
And when we
Moxley
talked about
gets
it
his
the other
vacation.
day, Moxley gets his vacation, and God knows he needs it. And we talked about it like the problems still would have been the problems, and in some ways, it was better that this all happened because they cleaned house in a way and at least acknowledged the fact that there was a serious issue, and that if he had stuck around, maybe it would have been more of a slow festering, over time. But I kind of like to think that there's some better angels there, maybe. And if he didn't sit home injured, he wouldn't be sitting there fuming about all the things he's mad about in his life while he was hurt. Or maybe he just would have gotten hurt later. Who knows? But I just would have liked to have seen what that summer would have been like if he had just made that one little choice to not be risky and still be there with the title during the summer.
Lifelong Battlehawks fan on Twitter at DPA Owens J, who I like interacting with, and he contributes to the show a lot. He agrees with you. He said probably the Punk stage dive that led to the injury. Nice. For me, if I was going to eliminate one CM Punk moment, I think if we go back even further and eliminate that promo where he he alluded to what's a Hangman. Yeah. I think we could do that. But I honestly think that in his mind, he was trying to set up for a heel turn. I don't like Salty Scott says, me, Marina. Do not delete that. That was awesome. That was
straw hat.
Awesome.
Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. When he called out Hangman and then Hangman didn't show, that was later, but and coward shit. Yeah. That did not need to happen. All right. James, what do you got?
First of all, I think Kevin is exactly right. That's the ideal pick.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go a different way just to be different. And that is the match that Adam Cole got concussed in. I'm seriously really worried about Adam Cole, and I really miss Adam Cole. Yeah, his Forbidden Door match. And I think Kevin has a better pick. But,
yours is the
we haven't seen him for
compassionate human being pick.
Yeah, I need to get that out of the way, the compassion, until we get later on into the show.
Another good reason for that one is, if you just delete Adam Cole from that match, he wasn't needed in that match.
No, he wasn't.
They could have. I would have rather seen a one-on-one, between Okada and whoever, Hangman. Yeah,
I think everybody would. Everybody.
Yeah. Or even Jay White and Hangman. Like as much as I don't like Jay White. Like to have, but it felt like Adam Cole was just being shoehorned in.
Right.
Steve.
Steve
I like
I
Jeff
was
will
about
like
to ask
this
you to
one.
bring that up. Yeah.
That's a good
Delete
pick.
whoever won't let them boys on Dynamite. Jeremy says, if Punk never said coward shit, everything changes. So, little too much of people calling out Hangman and him not being scripted to make the save. Okay, so for me, I'm going different, and a couple people on Twitter had similar picks to me, and for me, I would delete Jeff Hardy. I know in the big picture, it probably doesn't affect a lot, but I was not a fan before it happened. I wasn't a fan when it happened, and I definitely wasn't a fan afterwards. Arya, who's a great girl, great woman, she would take the Jeff Hardy Darby Allin match and just delete that from history. And especially Jeff winning. And C Oddsy at C Oddsy on Twitter said Jeff Hardy's run as well. And I was going with Jeff Hardy either way, so I was kind of surprised that two people picked it. Matthew Burrell here says not letting Cody out of his contract.
That was very close for me.
That was really close for me as well.
Yeah,
like half hour ago. That
feels
was
like 5 years ago.
Yeah, but the fact is if he would have kept him, then maybe do we have another CM Punk situation where Cody is upset and not wanting to play ball with anybody because he's just waiting on his contract.
TV. Would have been great.
Yeah,
TV.
That's true. Jeff, I don't think we got your pick yet. So
we didn't.
So
and there's a lot of them that I have to choose from. I came very close. I came very close to the MJF promo in the forum in February, which was just bad.
You mean June, right? The one where he called Tony Khan an effing mark.
Yes, whatever it was. I forget when it was, but
it
was just bad and bad for business and everything. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna take this time to get rid of an Angle.
Oh, I wonder if they're gonna go with what Preet did here.
I almost went with Bobby Fish kicking out at 3 out of the Go to Sleep as well. That was very close. Yeah. But I am going to get rid of because I'm going to go for on-screen product, and I'm going to get rid of the entire Undisputed Elite versus Elite Angle, high school melodrama, the terrible turn in the in-ring promo with Adam Cole, Fish, and O'Reilly on the Bucks. And all of it just led to nowhere due to injuries and booking of the trios tournament, and it was a complete waste of time that wasn't really planned out all that well, and it was a main event angle that never really got to main event status, and you had the Hangman stuff thrown in there as well, and they did nothing with it because everybody got injured or they chose to go a different way, and then they booked this entire tournament, which wasn't that great. So that's what I'm going with.
I understand that pick. But you say high school stuff. Adam Cole was murdered by the Elite. The man was murdered.
I'm mostly counting the Young Bucks and their terrible hangdog, puppy dog eyes. And talking in the bathroom and all that other crap.
Yeah. There's also a really good example of Tony Khan stretching out angles way too long when you might never get to them. Like we never really got the full MJF CM Punk feud we were going to get. We never got that match with Elite. We never got all these matches we were supposed to get because he wants to stretch them out 24, 27 months.
Yeah. So we got a couple other picks that were in the chat. I put them up on the screen, but for those listening on audio, Preet said my delete angle is Wardlow going after the TNT title after the MJF win. He should have remained killing people for months and then built to facing off against MJF for the world title.
And the whole I'm not going after the interim world title. And you're just like, you dope.
I love that. And Larry and Brad basically were deleting shoehorning ROH into Rampage. For the sake of ratings or, lack of ratings, I guess would be a better way to put it. Although Brad did love the Ocho run. I really like that pick a lot. And I wish I would have thought of it. I wonder what do we go with here? Punk as you think the consensus, or if we're going to say a consensus, we just got to have something for
posterity. We don't need a consensus.
I endorse Kevin's pick because I think
Yeah.
everything would have been different if he
Yeah.
wasn't sitting at home for all those months.
Something involving
it's either Punk or Cody. It's one of those two, I think.
Cody is strong. Cody
It's
is
really
strong. Yeah. Who was that? Matthew, right?
Yeah.
Delete Tony. Yeah.
And that was almost
Let's
my
go with
choice.
that. Salty Scott's surprised that no one wanted to delete JR. I think we're over it.
Well, I picked that.
All
that
year.
last year.
He's been marginalized. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think
they've done a great job in marginalizing him. Yeah, they've done a great job of.
You know what? They kind of did delete him. If you don't watch Rampage, I remember there was a stretch where I didn't watch Rampage for like 6 weeks, and I forgot JR worked for the company. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, when I heard his voice, it was like, oh crap! I knew there was a reason I don't watch this show. Larry agrees. It sounds like they already have. It's Scott. Yeah, Scott as well. Pre talking to Scott. Yeah.
When you finally tuned into Rampage, the first thing you heard was JR welcoming you to Dynamite.
And I was like, crap.
Yeah.
All right. Moment of the year in AEW for 2022. And we're discounting the All Out press conference because I think for a lot of reasons that is probably the vote.
It's too obvious.
Yeah. I'm going to do mine first. I was really tempted to go with Action Andretti, and really, like, I feel like maybe it's recency, and if we did this in like 5 months.
You hated that match, Paul. You hated that match.
No, I didn't. Yeah, shut up. And another strong candidate for me, and it's something not a lot of people saw, was Eddie Kingston's promo before the full gear, or with full gear, full gear on 0 Hour, after his match with Jun Akiyama, when he did the old Dana White thing of pumping up the upcoming pay-per-view and just like crying because he got to wrestle Akiyama. I thought that was really special. But I'm gonna go with a similar thing, and it is Jon Moxley's promo when he came back from rehab.
It's a good one
for me. Like, that hit home so hard because I've struggled with addiction myself, and then just what ended up happening, and he took that time off, and if he hadn't taken that time off, this may have worked out very differently, because they probably still would have gone to him, and he may not have been in a mental place. And it might have, I hate to say this, but it might have been a situation like Eddie Guerrero, where he was put into a situation that he wasn't ready for, or he wasn't emotionally prepared for. And it, I'm not saying that's what caused his death or anything, but it did weigh on him. And people said that, like, he was not in a position in his regular life to be headlining company. And Moxley probably wasn't when he, just over a year ago, when he went into rehab, but by the time he came back, he was. So I really like that. Matthew had another Jon Moxley pick, beating Punk in 2 minutes. That was awesome.
About that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
The sobriety, his return promo, that was my pick too. So
okay.
That's I'll
the promo was your pick as well.
Yeah,
okay.
That's what. I watched it again just before we went on. I went to just remind myself of some of my picks to see if they still held up to my memory, and it gave me goosebumps again. That crowd went completely silent.
Yeah, wasn't there was one guy that
once
tried
he
to
told
him?
a guy an F off.
Yeah.
After he told the guy to F off, then they were hanging on every word, and it was real talk. I mean, like that was he swore too, right? And they allowed it. I think he dropped an F-bomb. They didn't catch it. Yeah.
No, I think they got it okayed.
Blood.
I think they got it okayed. Yeah, I could be wrong, but I think I remember hearing that they got that one okayed ahead of time. So, okay. So what's your backup?
My backup, I'll kind of piggyback onto that. I've got a couple. Eddie, well, I don't want to spoil anyone else's, but I'll bring it up if you don't say it. But it would be William Regal coming out and slapping Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley across the face at their Revolution match. It was one of those moments that felt a little bit like Jon Moxley coming from the crowd at the first Double or Nothing, when you're like, oh, what could happen in this promotion? Of people who are your favorites who maybe haven't gotten used to the potential that you remembered them having, or wish they had, get to come out and, just that moment of seeing, oh, once you connected the dots of the connections between these people and the feud that's already there, and the storyline that Moxley had coming into it, and Danielson being the heel and already saying, let's form a group, and seeing that it was going to happen in that moment, and the way that people reacted to it. That was one of those things that was electric. And like many things, sort of a thing we've talked about, it played out over time and then sort of fell apart because of life and circumstances before it could really go where it really could have. But that'd probably be my second choice.
He was another one we could have used for newcomer of the year or whatever. Yeah. All right, Jeff, what do you got?
MJF getting the world title.
Okay. Yeah, I thought of that.
I think it's a bold move. It's a risk. With all the things that happened this year, it's even more of a risk, especially after his antics in Vegas with the plane, depending on if you believe that happened or not.
Yep.
But it's also really the first guy to me that didn't have like when this roster was being built back in the beginning, you knew Hangman Adam Page was going to get this title. You knew Moxley was going to get this title when it came, and you knew Kenny Omega was going to get this title. You weren't sure MJF was going to be able to live up to the pressures of being a main event guy. You knew he had the mouth, you knew he had the interview ability, and it is really a bit of a business risk because you're giving the title to a guy who is in character 24/7. If you have him go out and do media, he is going to piss somebody off. And it's a risk for business in some ways. It's risky, but it's a daring risk, and it's a risk I've wanted for a while because I like heels who can talk. So it goes into my sweet spot. Did I like the way it happened? No, not necessarily. I didn't like the entire Regal thing, to be honest with you. But as a business move and a moment of the year, that one, and it's like, and he's the first of the four young pillars to really, really see if he can carry the company.
Yep.
We've been talking about this for a while about, here's our youth movement. Here's our homegrown movement. And people get titles here and there, but they don't carry the company. And this is a risk. And that for me is, and I'm going to be very interested to see how it goes in 2023.
Larry had a pick that I think I'm safe in that James wouldn't have picked this. But it was one that I considered, Larry was live at Forbidden Door when Shibata's music hit. And that was really special. Kind of like when Minoru Suzuki's music hit last year at All Out, kind of a similar thing, but probably even more so because nobody expected Shibata in AEW, especially when it happened. Yeah. And Matthew picked the Andretti Jericho match that we talked about earlier. And that was Brad, who is, I believe, right now watching on YouTube as well. He mentioned that on Twitter as well, the Jericho Andretti. James, you're the last one. What do you got?
I'm surprised this one hasn't come up yet. This has been a difficult year for AEW when previously everything was golden. It was a summer camp. So to me, the biggest moment in the moment of the year was Cody's debut in WWE. When we knew for certain he's gone, that was the first sign of vulnerability that AEW has shown. And they started suffering from that moment on this year.
It's a great pick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And he was
not just debuting, but coming in with his music
as a star.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as a star, but with the character that he built in AEW. He was not coming in as Cody Rhodes, Dustin's brother, dashing Cody Rhodes or Stardust or anything. He was coming in as the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, which is a character he developed on TV for 2.5 years in AEW. And he got a huge reaction. So not only was it a blow to AEW, but in a way, it also showed that AEW can make a star that will make a difference in WWE.
Yeah.
And they better be careful and protect those stars.
Exactly. And similar to back in the day with WCW and WWF, like it wasn't a true war until you had Lex Luger show up from one side to the other, and then that was on the first show, but and then it really kicked in when you had Kevin Nash and Scott Hall jump over and essentially play the same characters that they were playing on the other show. So as soon as you got that happening, now it's interesting, and
not only a jump, but a jump by one of the founders, the person that was most closely associated with the creation of AEW.
Yeah, I like that. as being a moment, and not necessarily, a positive one, but we didn't say it had to be positive.
Now, to me, it's the most impactful moment of the year.
And when you talk about casual fans, if they exist, and I know some people don't think they do, but to them, that was a big deal. And I was live in the building when the music hit.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, at WrestleMania. And
that's right.
Yeah, and to me, that was the moment of the weekend. Not Stone Cold, because that was a bad experience for us.
The crowd reaction to that blew me away.
Yeah. Well, I was there. I had chills. I videoed it, and it was, you could hear me like marking out, and my daughter's looking at me like, what is this about?
Jeff, you say that because you were surprised at how many people responded, like how strong
that and the music. I wasn't expecting the music. I was hoping for it.
I wasn't even expecting that positive a reaction for him because it's like,
and then when he came out on Raw and he was, and then he beat Seth Rollins 3 times in a row. So it's like, okay, they're serious here. Great pick. Maybe that one wins. Although kind of like the Jericho Andretti, the Mox Rehab. I haven't really picked my own yet. Or no, I think I did the first one.
You picked the Mox Rehab one.
No, I picked it, but I'm saying like for our consensus or whatever we're gonna go.
There's
with.
No consensus here.
We all seem to like the Cody thing. Preet hasn't a latecomer here. Kenny's return. That for him. And then Punk got angry and ruined for a while. But which return? Yeah,
closed on Mondays and Tuesdays.
No, you know what though? Kenny returning was a big deal, and he was real high up on my outstanding wrestler award. With the matches he had, and getting a damn near 4-star match on Dark out of, I don't even remember who he wrestled, but that dude from DDT, Hane Shiguna or whatever. I just butchered that name because I didn't have it written down in front of me. Cody, what did Matthew say here? Cody and the Elite's biggest career mistake would be not getting a small ownership stake. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. But you know what? Tony took the risk. And for that sake, I understand where he's coming from.
Yeah.
Jeremy, Anarchy in the Arena as a great moment, and that may factor in on the match of the year, which we'll get to soon.
That was going to be one of my picks for when I pick like just the most memorable moment for me.
Yeah,
like the most that's going to stick in my brain is what I remember most. It was Eddie Kingston coming down with that gas can at Anarchy in the Arena.
Yeah, and we were there. 3 of us were there to watch that. Yeah, you hadn't left it yet, right, James? You left before the main event.
I left during the main event. By the way, Scott, we are tired of your accusations.
Shut up, Larry. I'm not even that one.
How dare you?
No, you know what? I'll be fair. And you know what? Because our friend David Lovell.
Hey, that's a valid pick, Larry.
Yeah, the Pound coming out to his old RH theme. For people that got it, it definitely was. It definitely was a big thing. And David Lovell.
And for all the people who didn't get it, they got a great story.
Yeah, and David Lovell, had that as a moment of the year on the Power Bombshell show. So for people that were fans of Punk, and I was, but I'll be honest, I never heard the music because I watched the matches without the entrances. So I mean, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
It was a great story when it was explained to me. It fit in perfectly well with the whole storyline of MJF and Punk. And that leads us into our next category, which is storyline of the year. And I'll go first.
Before we get there,
okay.
I just want to mention
one last. Go first.
I just wanted to mention one last moment of the year, potential candidate we didn't get to, and that was a major CM Punk feud that nobody's really mentioned, and that was the one with you. And I think that might have been story of the year in Fight Game Media, if nowhere else.
Yeah, I mean,
you handled yourself
Mel getting
Takeshita
an air fryer.
I got my job. I got my job as the ROH
Takeshita and Cinnabon was pretty.
Yeah, you did.
Based on that. But that is actually going to be my storyline of the year is CM Punk and MJF. To me, that was some of the most compelling television that I've ever seen. Some of the throwbacks to the Raven CM Punk feud, MJF using his real life thing. However, I'm sure some of it was very liberal with what happened in real life, but it was believable enough. And people were going back in his social media history and pulling stuff up that backed up what he said in his promo. Just all that stuff. It played on so many different levels. And then you had the Punk entrance. And so for the old school fans that remembered that they've been asking for that, they got it. So it was similar in a way to in WWE when he got back the Cult of Personality music. And use that. So for me, like I marked out at that point when he was using Cult of Personality, because I remembered that from ROH. That stuff I actually watched live as it happened, so I did hear the entrance music. But yeah, so for me, CM Punk MJF, there's a lot of good choices here, and I'm sure we'll hear some of them, but I don't think anything tops that. I said at the time that I said at the time that's my favorite storyline in. The last one that I liked as much as that was Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels in 2007. The one where he punched his wife and stuff. And yeah, like that's how much that one meant to me, personally. And the interaction with Punk at the end didn't affect my enjoyment of it one bit. Kevin, so you have the same pick?
Yeah, and you talk about the last one that I liked that much was probably for me. It was Terry Funk and Ric Flair in '89, and it was part of it.
You're going back even further.
It had an advancement that had a distinct beginning and had a distinct ending, and every week, probably this more than the Funk Flair match. Every week advanced the story. It was one of the most well plotted, at least in terms of like each week has a cause and effect on the week after it. I went back and looked at the weeks in 2022. So they had some interactions and promos and things like that. And MJF had that big Long Island moment where he was the hometown hero and all that. That was all in 21. In 2022, let's see. The week 1 of 2022 was when when Punk spoiled MJF's undefeated streak by causing the DQ with Shawn Dean.
Yeah.
Then he had the Wardlow match. Then he had the Shawn Spears match. Then they had MJF beating Punk in Chicago. Then the week after that was the Be My Valentine promo, where he rolled out the chain and challenged him to a dog collar match. The week after that was MJF telling his life story and causing all the sympathy and getting Punk to question himself. Then the week after that was the I'm the Devil, where he double-crossed him and hung him from the chain. And they, had to
quoted the Punk Raven promo from
quoted the
ECW.
Punk Raven thing, which led to Punk doing his own callback to his own promos after the show online. Then that led to the big entrance with the Revolution dog collar match, which also ended with setting up the Wardlow feud by him finally turning and giving him the ring to finish it, which set up the next thing. This is the feud that made MJF positioned to be the world champion now.
It also set up
a perfect story.
It also set up Punk to go after Hangman. So we had two distinctive directions for both guys coming out of it, which again is great. I mean, you can have a storyline that's self-contained and awesome as you're watching it, but then it ultimately leads nowhere. And this ultimately led to two major directions.
Both guys were better positioned afterwards, and a third guy was too.
Yeah, which is similar to Punk Flair.
Great,
or
there wasn't
Flair
like
Funk.
wasted weeks. There weren't like random let's have a Punk and a mystery partner against Wardlow and MJF. Like every week was getting closer to the big showdown. So yeah, that's my
Matthew disagrees with us. He does not like it. It reminds him of WWE, and maybe I like it because everyone thinks I like WWE better, even though my top 10 wrestlers were all New Japan and AEW guys. James McDaniel, what do you think?
I get that.
Yeah,
it's really tough. There were a lot of great storylines this year, such as Julia Hart moving down the mall from Claire's to Hot Topic. I think that was a big one. The Kip Sabian being revealed as the man inside the bag. Clearly,
are we
big
still
one.
on the Matt Hardy Delete Awards? Oh, sorry.
The debut of the Trust Busters, clearly one of the greatest teams in American history. But I'm with you too. I think Kevin, Paul, you're 100% right. That's storyline of the year for sure.
That's
right,
wow.
Jeff.
Okay, well, we got 3 out of 4. So
Julia was up there though.
Yeah. I didn't get any feedback on Punk on this. I guess everyone just agreed with me when I said Punk MJF. Jeff, what do you got? Is it consensus here?
For mainstream AEW, yes, it is MJF and Punk. It had malice. It had hate. I believed it. I bought into it. It had violence to end the feud, supposedly.
I know where Jeff's going, but go ahead.
But if we're talking the expanded AEW universe, y'all know me.
Yeah.
I adored Briscoe's FTR all year.
Yeah.
And the promos that started this, where Jay Briscoe says, "We've been a tag team longer than you've been Dax." And I went, I am in, brother, because Dax was offering wrestling lessons or something like that, and and Jay and Mark just started filming on their iPhone, Mark eating something weird in the background, and Jay just being angry. I adored this year-long feud.
Jay's had like hamburger taco meat in his beard longer than Dax has been Dax.
But really, haven't we all?
But it was just, it was a year-long storyline. It culminated at the last ROH pay-per-view. It doesn't count, but they've had the Briscoes on AEW TV to plug this with the sit down with Tony and the bourbon for the best 2 out of 3. But I mean, it was great. But I mean, look, MJF Punk is the storyline. It's been the one consistent storyline. It's been the most coherent storyline for all of us, because every other one has just had, they've either abandoned aspects of it or they've bailed on things that were interesting, and you're like, what the? What are you
That's
like?
The thing. The other big ones have either fallen apart or were not really focused at all.
Yes.
Blackpool Combat Club versus JS very well could have been here, but it was completely unfocused and just all over the place.
MJF and the Firm, Stokely and the Baddies,
Garcia and Jericho.
DMD and Jamie Hayter, which swerved and then got back to the point. It's one of those things where this is the most straight ahead.
Swerve and Keith Lee.
Swerve and Keith Lee. Exactly. Half the tag partners wanted to turn on each other, having issues with each other. It was a bad year for storytelling.
I got a late nomination for a storyline that had a beginning, had an end. They went all the way through. It was entertaining for the whole storyline. I loved it every single week.
Layla Gray joining the baddies.
No,
Nyla Rose is it Nyla Rose and Jade?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Nyla Rose and Jade, I freaking loved, and I know I'm on.
It was great. It was really great.
Storyline of the year.
It was very good.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved the match. Blew chunks, but I don't care.
But there's your consensus. It's MJF and Punk.
It's MJF and Punk.
Yeah. Earlier today I was seriously considering FTR and the Briscoes, and I was also seriously considering the rise of Jamie Hayter, but that was also too hit and miss. It was here 1 week, it's not there for a month, and it's back. It just took so long when really the great part has just been the last month.
Yeah. So Punk and MJF, you get the win, and congratulations, CM Punk. On your awesome year. All right. Next up, we have our Name Your Own Award. And I'm going to go last here. Jeff, I'm going to let you go first.
Let me think of the award here. Okay, I'll give one. And it's going to be...
Okay, I'll give one.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had a few in mind, and, it's just usually propping up my favorites or whatnot. But I'll give the biggest disappointment in AEW for me this year.
Okay.
And that was the lack of the ability of Tony Khan to build a suitable opponent for either of the women's divisions, be it the Jade Cargill division or the Britt Baker division, to stand on their own and go toe-to-toe with either of these two. And barring that, not putting the two of them against one another, for God's sakes, because they have had talent. As James and Kevin on their fantastic show go over, this women's division, quite deep. Even if you include Thunder Rosa, who we don't know if she'll be back or not.
Yeah.
But Tony Storm, Athena, Ruby Soho. Sorry, what's
Yeah.
the other name there?
Willow Nightingale.
Willow Nightingale, who has lost to Jade 3 times, and now we're still saying, hey, maybe she should be the one to beat Jade.
Yeah.
It was just, we had Jade going with, for my big, 30-0 thing. I want green Lamborghinis and green stuff to fall from the sky, blah, blah, blah. They eliminated that real quick when they decided it was going to be Athena and not Chris Statlander, because I think Chris Statlander was the plan. And then they didn't have a backup when Chris Statlander's knee injuries came back to bite her.
Whatever happened to Serena Deeb?
Serena Deeb, Yuka Sakazaki could have made a nice little run here if you had wanted to, because she's really over. You have these, you had all these women, and you'd put them in these vignettes backstage with Tony, where Britt and company and the Mean Girls posse would just come in and berate her and make them look dumb, or Jade and the Baddies, the other version of the Mean Girls posse, would come in and berate them and make them look dumb and just bury them. And you're just like, man, you had all these signings, you had all this talent, and now you're turning everybody heel because people don't want to cheer losers. So that to me is the biggest disappointment in all of AEW, other than Tony Khan feeling the need to go to the media a lot. That's the other thing I just hate. But
James, what's your name your own award?
I've had a lot of trouble narrowing this down. I've got 3 awards. I'll read them, and I'll do the real one last. First of all, the Take Your Ball and Go Home award. That was between Andrade Bandito and the winner, Cody Rhodes.
Okay.
Then the Say Your Prayers, Take Your Vitamins award, which goes to Buddy Matthews and his 85-inch pecs, or 85-inch, whatever the hell that is. And then finally, the Gear of the Year award was between Jade Cargill, Jamie Hayter, and the winner, Sky Blue. Don't come for me, people. You don't want none.
Sky Blue is closer.
Steve Geimer Memorial Best Gear Award.
Sky Blue is closer in age to my grandson than she is to my oldest son.
I'll be taking no questions or comments.
Yeah. And I agree. But no, those are good picks, James.
Thank you.
And Jeff, what do you got? Oh, I get you. Kevin. Sorry, Kevin.
How dare you?
Mine is I don't have a good name for it, but I guess like pay-per-view standout. I don't know. Guy I look that if you just look at pay-per-views, the guy had a great year, and it's Eddie Kingston. So Revolution, he beats Chris Jericho. He's basically the main character of. He's basically the main character of the Anarchy in the Arena match, as I mentioned in the feud with Jericho. Blood and Guts wasn't on pay-per-view, but he was essentially the focus of that, and had Jericho dead to rights before Matt Menard unselfishly sacrificed himself by taking the loss to save his hero. Then at Forbidden Door, he had a fun but not standout match with Shota Umino, Wheeler Yuta against the weird combination of Minoru Suzuki, Jericho, and Garcia. Then at All Out, then he became the 0 Hour Star, which I think is where he's decided he wants to live, beating Tomohiro Ishii at All Out, and then beating Jun Akiyama at Full Gear in the pre-show, where he had that awesome promo at the end. And now he's on Twitter saying he wants Kenta at the 0 Hour for Revolution.
Awesome.
So he's pretty much just going to he's pretty much found that he's got this territory where he can just call out Japanese wrestlers that he loves, fly him in, and either beat them or lose to them at pay-per-view, and then, get to say whatever he wants to plug the show, which I think is a great spot for him.
That's a great award and a great winner.
I think Eddie Kingston.
But if you just watch TV, he's a nobody now because we
hardly ever see him. He's
and
never won a match, as James likes to put it. Every chance he gets.
I looked at his record earlier and was shocked that he's had so many wins. I've never seen one.
Tagging up with Ortiz on Dark. I mean, that'll pad up your record.
Yeah.
I think he got my award last year for the Name Your Own Award, and I think I called him the Locker Room Leader Award. I think was what it was, something like that.
I think you're right.
And I believe I gave it to Eddie Kingston last year, and he would get that award this year as well for me, even though he had the fight with Sammy Guevara.
I think that's a locker room uniter right there, slapping
but I think
Sammy in the
Mox
face.
gives him a run as well. the another nominee for your Eat Your Vitamins award is Roosh.
I love that when I saw it in the chat, Matthew.
Larry Sternstein has an award, most underrated run, and that would be for Tony Storm. So that's his pick. Jeff might think it's overrated.
I strongly disagree with that one.
All right,
but that's me. I have another candidate for most underrated, but I just think Tony Storm's run, they just absolutely screwed up.
So based on my my year, I have my award for 2022 for your Name Your Own Award is going to be the entrance of the year. And it's not. I'm not nominating CM Punk at Revolution. I am actually going to go with. Now there's some strong candidates here. Orange Cassidy getting Jane back.
That's a good one.
And I made the comment at first that I like the old song better. I like the song better, but the entrance was better before. I was very wrong on that. I will admit that Jane is much better for him.
I'm on this. I'm in the same boat there. I didn't like the switch. Now I love it.
We had MJF getting the Sympathy for the Devil at All Out. That was strong.
That was great.
But my award is going to go to the Elite with Carry On Wayward Sons as the entrance of the year, and we got to see it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
As every week on Dynamite we get that match, and it's great. And and who'd have thought that Kansas and Jefferson Airplane would be getting airplay in 2022 on national cable television, but it works.
Yeah.
I've been trying to.
Old Jefferson Airplane got both federations because they got White Rabbit
right.
for a
You're
while.
right. Yeah. Matthew has a great point. Eddie Kingston gets a Nostradamus award for calling out Phil Brooks and everything he was going to do before he did it.
That's awesome.
I think it was storyline at the time, but there's always a little bit of reality in there. I mean, Jeff and I talked about it every week as it was happening, and I was convinced that it was just a storyline to build up CM Punk to become a heel, but I think it was actually what it is. Oh, we got female so a girl's watching.
Easy.
She agrees that it's the best entrance.
Hello, lady and gentlemen.
Unsung Performer of the Year. Somebody we haven't talked about at all, other than one person bringing him up for Breakout Star. And it's Jungle Boy for Unsung Performer of the Year. Jungle Boy Jack Perry, outstanding, a great year of growth, and he doesn't get a lot of chatter from people week to week. He had a great match with Luchasaurus to culminate that feud. A really good feud with Christian. A lot of strong promos back and forth in there. Some better than others.
Are we doing Unsung or no?
No, that was just his Name Your Own Award.
Okay.
I just want to say, Creek, I totally
Lethal.
get that, but I think 2023 will be Jungle Boy's true breakout year, since now he is teaming with Hook.
Yeah, there you go.
Legend.
Finally got a
Matthew likes his choice as well. All right, next up we have.
I want to acknowledge Jeff's Unsung Hero Award because we kind of went by it real fast.
Yeah,
Jay Lethal.
Jay Lethal.
Ooh,
yeah,
it's really good.
There hadn't been a week gone by that I just don't see a Jay Lethal match and think, he's really good.
Or the skits that he does with and actually another one would be Sanjay Dutt.
Sanjay Dutt, yes.
Yeah, he entertains us every single week.
Yeah.
So that's another good one. All right, our next award. We're getting close to the end here. MFP, not the MVP, the MFP. And it's my favorite performer. And James, I want to hear from you on this one. I think I know who Kevin and Jeff are going to pick. So I don't know what you're going to pick. And I listen to your show every week and I don't know.
I love that you don't know. So it came down to a final four. My final four were Adam Page, Dax Harwood, Jamie Hayter, and my eventual pick for winner, Claudio Castagnoli. He makes me so happy every time I see him in the ring, and seeing him kind of be free to be himself in AEW. There's nobody I've had more fun watching this year than Claudio.
I think two of those names you mentioned are about to get mentioned again. But yeah, I like that pick a lot. And I think Tony Khan it's one of his favorite performers too. Judging by the reaction he had at that press conference where he gave him that nice big hug.
Nestled right in
there.
Yeah,
Mike Gilbert is as surprised as I was there that somebody picked Claudio. And honestly, we could have picked him for newcomer of the year too. And
I thought about that.
Yeah. So
I was very anti Claudio when he first came in.
I was just shocked.
I was not excited about it. And it was just because I associated him so much with WWE, and I didn't want to have
took him a couple weeks to get rid of that WWE kind of.
Yeah.
Also, his promos are like really surprising to me. I didn't know what a good promo he was. I had no clue.
He upped the wardrobe game in the Blackpool Combat Club, as he does with all of his associates.
Absolutely,
they all get better dressed. I want to be his tag team partner one day, just for the jackets.
Showing the absolute difference, even though we're great friends, between myself and Larry Sternshine. His is Orange Cassidy. I like Orange Cassidy. But
Orange had an amazing year. First of all, when he came back, kind of around the time that all the Elite drama was going on, and they were out, he was used really well. And of course, his 4 and I think 3/4 star match with at Forbidden Door. I mean, he did have a hell of a year, Larry.
Yeah, that match. Somebody mentioned that in our match of the year, which we'll get to next, and I'd forgot about it. But yeah, that was great. I'm surprised. I'm assuming he was 5th on your list, Chuck Taylor, James.
It was very close. It was very close. Okay. Yeah.
All right, Kevin. To give us one of the names James just said.
It's one of the two. It is one of the two.
Yeah.
Well, it's a pick 'em for me. I picked FTR last year, I think. So there's still, like, most of the year, I would pretty rarely tweet Dax Harwood is my favorite wrestler because he just had such a phenomenal year, and just the character. He kind of at the end of the year was starting to wear on me a little bit because he wasn't really focusing on storyline or I don't know, like really intentional with his promos. He just kind of was leaning on these sort of all shucks. I love my family. I love tequila. I love wrestling. Somebody said that FTR stood for family, tequila, and wrestling, which I think is the best summary.
That came from his
character.
podcast.
Was it?
That dropped today? Yeah.
Oh,
okay. And so, he's probably the obvious pick, but who I'm actually going to go with, because it's at the moment who my favorite wrestler is Jamie Hayter.
Shocking.
Ooh.
I just have been very into her ascension and finally getting to show what she can do and redefine a women's division and show what it could have. When you're talking about someone who I'm invested in seeing succeed, Dax Harwood was probably that, and FTR as a team, probably for the last 18 months, but the last 3 months, I'm probably more excited about her potential than everyone. So if you talk about who I'm most excited to see get a match on a show, it's her right now.
Mike Gilbert's got Jon Moxley, and that's a solid pick. And most of my Twitter answers were Jon Moxley. And honestly, like if it was Wrestler of the Year, I think I would definitely go with Jon Moxley, but that's not gonna be my pick.
Easily.
Jeff, you got a couple minutes here. Tell us how great Dax Harwood is.
Look, I love Dax Harwood, and he's had a hell of a year. But like Kevin, I'm feeling like it's a cheat because I picked FTR last year.
That's okay.
And look, Dax would be my pick overall, but I'm going to give some love to my second pick.
Okay.
Ooh.
I love mid-card knuckleheads. I do. I think there's a special place for them. Teams that aren't the things that aren't great, or wrestlers that aren't great, but they bring some personality or they bring something to the table that is needed to get guys over, and I love them. I'm going with 2.0.
Yes. Oh, I love this. Love this.
I hate it, but go on.
2.0. Yes, and Paul and I have had disagreements because of the seriousness. And look, I wanted Anarchy in the arena and the post-fight promos to be a turning point for 2.0 more than anybody on earth. Yep. Even more than Paul, who got angry over such things because he said because Paul was correct. I'm gonna give him some love here because he goes, they're just gonna bail on this and go back to being.
It means nothing.
It means nothing.
It sounds like Paul wants a taste.
But all year, All year,
I want to put a pencil through my ear every time I hear him do commentary on Dark Elevation.
You know what makes Daddy Magic's nipples hard, Paul?
Yeah, I do.
And just that line alone will make me smile because they're just such knuckleheads. And I hated the Cool Hand Ange and Daddy Magic rebrand.
Yes.
Until it started to grow on me. Until it started to be so stupid that I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think all year they have just been great supporting Rosencrantz and Guildensterns in this play in AEW.
Yes.
And look, I mean, even this past week or 2 weeks ago, setting up Action Andretti with the bad fire puns to then get a fireball in the face. It was perfect setup for that. Did they turn serious, and are they on the ascent? Hell no, because they were never meant to be. I get that. I get the criticism, and it's warranted. But damn if they didn't have a solid year all year, just being in support of this stupid stable and being the heels to get people to boo them when everybody wanted to sing Judas. That's alone. True. They took the bullets from everybody who wanted to sing that dumbass song Judas, which I don't like. And say you're not going to hear this tonight, blah blah blah. And really put these crowds that wanted to sing along with a heel theme in their place. So yes, 2.0
for over 18 weeks.
There's
the revolutionary force in sports entertainment.
They're my second favorite Canadian act after Paul and maybe Sami Zayn.
I'm working with a bunch of children here.
There's a Twitter account. I don't know if it's a whole Twitter account or just someone who was doing it for a little while that was doing nothing but any promo that was a JAS promo, they would just zoom in on Matt Menard's face and show the whole promo with just his reactions. And it was one of my favorite things.
Do they ham it up and play and do the Pacino? Yes, they play a little bit big. I get that. I get the criticisms, but yes. Shut up, Trisha.
So I've got something to add before we move to the next category.
I think she confused the two of us because I'm the one that is coming off as hating fun here.
She just likes to bury me. So let's just.
Sorry, I cut you off there, James. What were you going to say? Because I haven't given my pick yet.
I was just going to say before we move to the next category, I've got something I want to add at the end.
Okay. So I want to give my pick. So I'm gonna count down from 5 because I think James did the same thing.
You couldn't narrow down your list.
No, I got a number one. But number 5 is Nyla Rose. I just love her every time I see her.
Best Twitter account in wrestling.
Yeah, there was one point. I think it was this year. It might have been last year when she surprise bitch.
Yes, I love Cake and Violence was a fantastic promo.
Yeah, love that.
I like that shirt.
Yeah, number 4, Daniel Garcia. Just love his in ring. Absolutely love his in ring and even some of his promos. And number 3 is Jake Hager and his hat.
Get the hat over.
I smile every time. Number 2 is Bryan Danielson, the best in-ring wrestler going today. I don't care. You can have your Will Ospreay. I don't care. He's not even going to get my vote, which is ironic because it's called the Bryan Danielson Award because I think Daniel Garcia had a better year in my opinion, but I still love Bryan Danielson and I love his promos and I just love Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, whatever you want to call him. But my number 1 pick for the year, my favorite performer, almost every time I see him on screen, I rave about him. I absolutely love him. He's the AEW World Champion, MJF. My favorite performer of 2022, hands down. CM Punk gets honorable mention for his year. I'm not even ironically. I was
going to say CM Punk was actually on my short list.
Yeah,
he cuts great muffin promos.
He does. I want to mention Pictish Mongoose on Twitter. Really likes Cole Carter and picked him for this. And I thought he was joking, but he was putting in his he dug in on that one. And Deb. Our friend Deb Lynn, who is a big wrestling fan, goes to the NXT shows and big AEW fan as well. She picked Jericho. But if you take away his commentary, that she would have gone with Mox, but I hate that guy. She loves Jericho on commentary, believe it or not. So, and actually the same guy that picked Cole Conrad said Julia Hart and House of Black storyline was so amazing. Oh, but then he said he's joking. So, but he was serious about Cole Carter.
I was about to ask
James, what do you got on your tag?
Is that a Cole Carter pseudonym?
Yeah.
Oh, I just want to say. Oh, go ahead, Paul.
Oh, I'm just giving some of the other picks. Preet thinks I'm nuts about Jake, but no, he puts a smile on my face. Matthew Burrell's like Zack Sabre Jr., but we only saw him once, and this is AEW only. So if it was overall, yeah, maybe Zack Sabre Jr., but I didn't see enough Zack Sabre Jr. personally to vote for him. So that's why I wouldn't have him on my list. But I'm sure if I was watching New Japan every week or every big show, I would definitely have gone with him. So James, you had something else you wanted to add before we move to the last category?
Two quick things with breakout star of the year and this category. I totally understand him not winning, but I'm honestly surprised no one's brought up the year that Wheeler Yutas had and how far he's come from the geek that was getting choked out by Chris Statlander every week.
Yeah,
he's had a really good year. Yeah, literally
Yeah.
every episode of BTE. And then finally, I wanted to suggest a future category, which is entrance music of the year.
Kevin, you got to make a note of that?
Sure.
That was my unofficial award for this year.
It's been entered into the minutes.
Okay. Yeah. Kevin's our unofficial transcriber. And yeah, Matthew, you're right. I was talking about the Danielson Award. And it's just like I said, I could vote for Zack Sabre Jr., but it'd be disingenuous because I didn't actually see enough of his matches to qualify. So maybe I'm an uninformed voter. I don't know.
On that entrance music note, what I'm trying to manifest right now is someone getting really overusing Supertramp's "Give a Little Bit" as their entrance song. I'm trying to figure out who this is going to work for, but
I had the thing where when what's his name Ari Daivari was buying up all this talent because he was the richest guy in wrestling. I wanted him to buy "We Built This City" for the Trustbusters as their theme music because. Because Jane was worked over so well for Orange Cassidy, that would be the mindset with the meta storyline.
Really actually,
that it's the worst rock and roll song in history. Voted by music critics.
This is a Matt Cardona. Play.
And actually, but the other problem with that is Tony Deppen already uses the music. So, the most disappointing that's back again is House of Black and leaks of backstage stuff, and I think you could throw Andrade into there, and obviously Punk and everything. Preet's well behind Yuta as well. So, all right. So our last award, and then we're gonna have one other thing we'll talk about at the end, is the match of the year, and there's a lot of great picks here, Matthew is saying right here that Jericho is not getting enough love between, and the Andretti match, the Anarchy in the Arena, Garcia, Kingston, the Ocho, all-time great Hall of Famer. All that's true. And I feel like we've talked about it, quite a bit, but maybe not enough. Nobody picked him other than that one person on Twitter that responded, Deb. So for match of the year, I will just go with some of the Twitter picks here, and some of these might get our picks as well. The Death Triangle United Empire, Rowan picks. He liked that. And the acclaimed Keith Lee Swerve Strickland match from All Out. Those are great picks. Ryan Frederick, Anarchy in the Arena. Zach, Mr. J831 on Twitter, Orange Cassidy and Will Ospreay. We talked about that a little bit earlier. And Punk and MJF from Lifelong Battle Hacks fan, DP Owens G. And Mox and Yuta. He said would have been up there if they hadn't fumbled BCC down the stretch, but I don't think you should disqualify that because it was a great match when it happened. So, James, I'm interested in your pick here.
I really like this Jamie Hayter match that we just had, but I can't go with anybody but Briscoes versus FTR, the first match.
Okay. I was there live. I loved
it. To me, nothing could compete with that.
I like the second one better. I know Jeff liked the third one better. That
tells you what a great trio of matches
versus Jeff FTR and any one of them.
If we had a feud of the year, I mean, I think that would be hands down the winner, and it'll probably win the Observer of the Year. I would think the feud of the year.
I hope so.
Yeah. Jeff, what do you got? I think you kind of gave this away on our show, unless you've got a different pick now.
Well, I didn't think I could count ROH matches as it, so I was considering an ROH match, but I mean, it would be the double dog collar match for Briscoes and FTR. I love that, but I'll give love to the other two picks I was weighing for my personal match of the year. I loved Anarchy in the Arena. I absolutely adored it. It was just madness all around, blood. guys bleeding all over the place. It felt like a fight. Eddie Kingston tried to kill somebody. I'm here for this. This is what I want in my wrestling, pretty much. I'm also going to take a really off the board pick that I was really, really considering. I didn't like it more than Anarchy in the Arena nor the Briscoes, but man, did I love this match. And that's from Beach Blast earlier in the year. Cody Rhodes versus Sammy Guevara.
Yes.
I love that.
That was a great match.
I absolutely adored that match. And look, I miss Cody in AEW as much as anybody, but I didn't think Cody could get that kind of a match where I would be so invested in what I figured was going to be a loss for him. But it was such a great match between him and Sammy, and he and Sammy have very underrated chemistry when it comes to these year-end awards quite a bit. So
it's going to be great when Sammy shows up in WWE in a few years.
Right. Am I incorrect in saying that was Cody's last match in AEW?
No, you're not. That was his last match in AEW before he left the territory.
What a way to
go,
man.
And Cody was killing himself the last 6 months. I mean, you recall, towards the end of the year, he put himself through a flaming table to try and get Andrade's lazy ass over. So,
yeah.
One thing about the Anarchy in the Arena match that we didn't mention was the New Jack stuff with the Wild Thing playing over and over again, and
3 times in a row. You're just like, this is ridiculous. Stop this.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, ROH, of course, I take Briscoes and FTR, but AEW mainstream, Anarchy in the Arena in that one.
All right, and a lot of people picked Anarchy in the Arena. Kevin, what's yours?
I'm going to go with Orange Cassidy and Will Ospreay at Forbidden Door because I agree. If I'm voting for the FTR. I'm thinking about voting for all 3 FTR Briscoes matches on my Observer ballot, the 1, 2, 3, and there's probably some New Japan matches that I'm overlooking. But in terms of like AEW, watching mainstream AEW, even though technically it is a little bit of fudge because it was the New Japan thing. To me, that was number one. It was the most surprising match of the year because when they announced it, I was like, "What, really? Like this is slumming for Will Ospreay, and he's got to do this comedy stuff." But man, I watched it again today just to make sure, and it still got me up, like in like interested in leading into it, and not kind of checking out because it. Orange Cassidy's just so dialed in on how to modulate his character for the situation when he needs to be the Rampage comedy guy, or the trios, party match guy, or when he needs to get in there and make you think he can beat the world. This was one of those matches, and I went from being like, man, I'm so tired of Orange Cassidy after his feud with Adam Cole, like I would like, we've seen enough of him, I don't mind if he goes away, to this guy could be headline a pay-per-view for me again. And so that has a lot to do with Will Ospreay, but it has a lot to do with Will Ospreay playing off the character really well, and they just had surprising chemistry. And just the styles clash of just that New Japan big match persona with this like total AEW kind of new neo sports entertainment kind of thing that's going on. I don't know. To me, it was a uniquely AEW match.
I thought that's a great pick, and it's one I'd kind of forgotten about. And another one that I had forgotten about was Preet Paul's pick, and it's Danielson and Hangman for the world title on January 5th Dynamite. So almost a year ago. And I'm going to go with Danielson and Hangman as well for my match of the year, but not that match. And it was from the August, I believe, 17th edition of Dynamite, the 2 out of 3 falls. It was Danielson and Daniel Garcia. I'm sorry. And where Garcia won and beat him. And, it was kind of, maybe the biggest upset in AEW until the Andretti one. And I just absolutely love that match. I know a lot of people didn't like it as much as I did, but it's my pick. So that's what I'm going with. And ironically enough, I had 3 matches that I rated over 5 stars this year. One of them was Anarchy in the Arena. One of them was this one. And then my other one was actually the next day in New Japan after the Danielson and Garcia match. And it was Okada and Tetsuya Naito in the G1 finals. That was also that's a New Japan match, so it's not eligible for this award. But I really love that. And Will Ospreay, had a couple great matches, that I saw this year with Okada Matthew Burrell pointed out, that he had just such an incredible matches I haven't even seen that people are raving about, with in England and, on indies and in all kinds of stuff and in New Japan. So, and he's got the Omega match coming up in less than a week, that a lot of people are looking forward to. So big year for matches in AEW. And I think, I don't think we need a consensus here, although I guess if we had to have one, probably Anarchy in the Arena, I guess, based on most of the picks. And that's a solid one. So Ryan, as usual, you win. My co-host on the MMA podcast In the Clinch is never wrong, even when he is. So our last thing for the year, and I almost feel like this could be, we should have almost disqualified because I have a feeling that we all feel this way. The one thing that you'd make Tony Khan do in 2023, and I'm going to go first, and I'm going to say you need to hire a freaking assistant that can, delegate and put him in charge of Ring of Honor, put him in charge, be a go-between between you and the talent. You need someone that you can trust, that you actually have authority with. And that's one thing I would make Tony Khan do. But
needs to hire a lot of people.
Yeah, but that one more than anything, I think. I think Tony Schiavone is kind of like his right-hand man or anything, but I don't think like Tony Schiavone.
Yeah, but now he's complaining on his podcast about how tired he is and how he doesn't know how long he's going to be active.
Let's go back to Starbucks.
Also, I can't see Tony Schiavone being the guy who's going to walk in to a room with CM Punk and the Elite and kick over a table and put them straight. I don't think he's the guy's having the come to Jesus meetings with him.
Yeah.
Unless Britt's got his back.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. Jeff, what would you make Tony Khan do?
Hire the Briscoes is too obvious for my brand.
Yeah.
And you say it every week.
I say it every week. So I'm gonna go out on a limb here because this would play really well to the fan base as well. Women's blood and guts match.
Oh man.
Yeah, we talked about that a couple weeks ago, didn't we?
Off air, I think.
Okay.
But I would do and I would put this Brit Rebel Jamie Hayter thing with a couple others, and I'd build it, which Tony isn't very good.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
But I think it would really, I think it would also be a real boon for women's wrestling as well, which, I mean, for the most part, your high level performers in both companies, all they want to do is be thought of as equal to the men.
Mm-hmm.
So let's give them this kind of match as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you've got a lot of strong people. I mean, Saraya, Tony Storm, Karashida. Yeah, Jamie Hayter and Britt on the heel side.
Rio could jump from the top of a cage, or
Can you imagine the rematch between Sheeta and Jamie Hayter in a Blood and Guts?
Yeah. Oh,
in a anything goes match, really.
Rosa would be game if she could come back to the fold. Yeah.
Yeah.
Preet likes my idea and thinks he should hire John Muse. Not the worst idea in the world, although I'm available. Although I'm the worst pick. Peppermint Fatty, James McDaniel. What do you got?
Mine's terrible. So
that's usual for the night. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow. I thought about making Tony Khan create more of a distinction between Rampage and Elevation, but they've been kind of doing that the last 2 weeks. So I'm going to go out with a whimper here. I don't think anybody's going to care about this at all. I really want Tony Khan to sign Nick Aldis.
Oh, okay.
I really, really loved, to me, a big part of the build towards what became AEW was Nick Aldis and Cody Rhodes. They had an amazing feud, and I really like what Nick Aldis brought to that, and I'd love to see him get an opportunity to do a similar thing in AEW.
I like that. I would love to see it, although if I had to put money on it, I suspect we're going to see him in the Royal Rumble. But I think he's better off in AEW. I think his upward mobility is better.
I do too.
Yeah. Solid pick, James.
Thank you.
No problem. And Kevin, leave it to you.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna pick Double or Nothing, and have Eddie Kingston challenge for the world title at Double or Nothing, and maybe win it.
Wow.
I love that.
I think the dynamic of Eddie and MJF could be really great. and I think people would really get behind it in a way that is not. MJF, I was worried about him not being able to be heel, and I think he's overcome that a little bit already. But I think
he'd be a heel against
them. Yeah, he'd be a heel against Eddie, and I think you could. People have been calling for that kind of Mankind title reign. The underdog short term reign. I think you could do it, and I don't think it would hurt MJF too much. I think he should have a long reign, and I think you need to try to go with him for a good while, but I think he could give a couple of months off to give Eddie that world title reign and cement Eddie as kind of that AEW legend kind of guy. He'd be made after that.
I would love for that to happen.
I will say that, obviously it's real popular and a lot of people in the chat are agreeing with you. I don't like it personally, but and I've heard this proposed for a couple of years. I don't even know why, and I love Eddie. I don't know what it is, but obviously I think it would work based on everything else. So the reason has nothing to do with whether or not I think it would work or whether the fans would be into it or anything like that. I think they would. It's just not my thing. Mike Gilbert, I'm not sure if he's still watching, but I'm sure his pick would be that Tony needs to bring CM Punk back, because I think he just wants the chaos, and he roots for anarchy. Brad's got a good point. Eddie saving the world title from MJF, threatening to leave for the highest bidder in the bidding war of 2024. See, and this is where I think Jon Moxley is the guy for that. If I was booking, I would have MJF keep the title the whole year up until Revolution and start talking about, oh yeah, I'm going to leave, I'm going to take the title, and then Moxley beats him for the title.
Eddie can be the Mankind to Moxley's Rock.
Absolutely. And he could beat him, 2 weeks later. They could do that too. They could do the CM Punk fake out. Where, everyone thinks he's safe, and then MJF calls for his rematch and he wins the belt back, and then he's got it.
Actually, you could do the direct Mankind thing where Moxley playing Stone Cold double arm DDTs old MJF and throws Eddie on top of him.
Yeah. I mean, that would that'd be on brand too. That's not bad.
If you're gonna do that, I'd do it on TV.
Yeah, like one of the big shows.
Mm-hmm.
That's certainly they have a big summer one,
Fighter Fest or something like that.
Yeah, one of the 2 Fighter Fest fights, as long as it's somewhere Kevin can drive to.
Right. Do it an ROH final battle, or Winter is Coming next year, and
Winter is Coming would be a great place. It's like 2 weeks before the year's up, when MJF contract is allegedly ending, although I'll go on the record as saying I do not believe for a second that he's not signed long term right now. Larry doesn't. I think Larry's in favor of your idea because he doesn't think Mox will have another title run for a long time.
I kind of agree with Larry in that I love Moxley. I love what he's done. I love how he stepped up. I'd like a little break in the title picture for a while.
He needs a break.
No, he needs at least a 6-week vacation.
Yeah, and Brad agrees with you. All right, so this was a lot of fun. We went just over 90 minutes, which is fine. I deliberately didn't say how long we were going to go because I didn't know, but this was kind of my unofficial goal. So,
all right,
good. Yeah, and I want to thank you all. I want to thank all the people for participating in the chat. It was a lot of fun. Y'all added to it and made it more fun for us, and hopefully for you guys as well. And we look forward to doing this again next year, and maybe doing the odd pay-per-view pre-show or post-game show or whatever. It's always fun when I get to chat wrestling with you guys. Make sure and check out Kevin and James's show. Drops every Tuesday morning, right?
You got it.
On the Fight Game Media free feed. Just wherever you find your podcast, just search Fight Game Media. You can get their show for free. And for mine and Jeff's show, the Dynamite Show drops every Wednesday, a couple hours after Dynamite ends. That costs $5 a month, but you get our show. You get a ton of other stuff as well. I think it's like one show every week. James, you got the list in front of you of all this stuff?
I can pull this up really quick. Let me tell you this. But first of all, this is the best value in professional wrestling right now. We've got the Wrap, we've got the Dynamite Show, we've got Pound for Pound, Fight Game Podcast. Write that down. In the Clinch, Take It Home, 5-Star, Brace for Impact, The Boom. Speaking of strong style, and Power Bombshells, which of course you can follow right here on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel.
Brian Myers is the most professional wrestler, and James is the most professional podcaster. That was a hell of a plug there, James.
Thank you.
And I am a listener. I love you guys' show. I listen to it every week. I'm a little behind right now I haven't listened to the latest one yet, but I did listen to your previous one just a couple days ago. So, so I want to thank you all for listening. You can also check out the Power Bombshells are going to have a kind of a year-end show with their favorite stuff this coming weekend. I think they're going live, so that'll be Sunday at 1 Eastern, I believe. I can correct me if I'm wrong. But I have an idea that I'm not going to be on the show, but I have an idea that I want to pitch to them, and hopefully it goes. And I think you'll all like it if it happens. So
awesome.
Little bit of a teaser there. So for James, for Kevin, for my good buddy, Uncle Jeff, I'm Paul Fontaine, and this has been Boom Goes the Dynamite.